so political, it's so difficult for me to answer. But
fair enough.
I don't know. I'm not going to say anything because I'll just talk for like half an hour. All I can do is wish the world the best.
Yeah, that's right. You just brought over my mandala. Good morning.
Have a wonderful lecture.
Still sorting it out. No, it's the one. No,
The five is standing.
No, I just thought it was a call.
It's one step away ahead. Wow. If it comes to the last screen.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, just kind of patience. Yeah, so. Yeah. I think it's a really good sense of the power of positive thinking.
Yeah. I don't know.
what's that?
First, around that first.
Yeah, because we said starting on we said starting on the 2nd, which is a Saturday, but will we start the Friday night, so Geshe's first full day teaching on Saturday, or will we start
Well,
the Saturday night?
well, the thing is that Friday is the first, and we do the first week of time.
No, we don't want to start. I stayed to the area for the one time, but I'm destroying a massive voltage mountain in Russia, together with a great community of monks and a great community of Bodhisattvas. At that time, the Lama was involved in the concentration on the areas of profound perception. Also, at that time, the Bodhisattva master of Arya, very practiced in profound perfection, wisdom, and held those 5 aggregates, also as empty in every nature. And the Venerable Preacher said this: the Bodhisattva master of Arya Avalokiteshvara. How should any son of the lineage join who wishes to practice the activity of profound perfection wisdom? He said that the Bodhisattva master of Arya Avalokiteshvara said this to Venerable Sharapadiputta. Sharapadiputta, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of profound perfection wisdom, look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly beholding those 5 aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form, empty is the love of form, form is also the love and emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors in consciousness are empty. Sharapadiputta, likewise, all phenomena are emptiness without characteristic, unproduced, sameness, not without stain, not deficient, not fulfilled. Sharapadiputta, therefore, emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomenon. There is no I element and so on up to including no mind element and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance and so on up to including no aging and death, no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Sharaputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, Bodhisattvas rely on and dwell in the perfection of wisdom, without obscuration and without fear. Having completely passed beyond error, they reach the end point of nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times also manifestly completely awakened
To the unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment.
who relies on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the vast mantra, the mantra equal to the unequal, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, and all is true since it is not false. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared. Sharaputra, the Bodhisattva Master, should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like that. Then the Bhagavan arose from that concentration. The Bodhisattva Master Arya Avalokiteshvara saying, well said, sons of lineage, it is like that, it is like that.
One should practice
The profound perfection of wisdom just as you indicate, even to Tathagats rejoice.
The Bhagavan having thus spoken,
The Venerable Shariputra, Sattva Master Arya Avalokiteshvara,
and those
surrounding
surrounding
him
their entirety, along with all of God's humans, Asuras, and Gandharvas, who are overjoyed and like praise that spoken by the Bhagavan. I prostrate to the gathering of the Dakinis in the three chakras who abide in the holy yoga of years and space, of powers of clairvoyance and magical emanation. Look after practitioners like a mother her child. Guess the Lord. By the teachings of the three supreme Lords,
Possessing the power of truth, inner and outer hindrances be transformed, may they be expelled, may they be pacified, Shinto creates may all negative forces opposed to the Dharma be completely pacified, may the host of 80,000 obstacles be pacified, may we be separated from problems and harmful conditions to the Dharma. May all enjoyments be in accord with the Dharma, and may there be the auspiciousness of perfect happiness here, right now. Sashi
Sanje Chadam Soti Chanamba Chancho Badu Dani Kapsuchi Dagi Chushingi Betsana Drola Peche Sangendra Parasho Sanje Chadam Soti Chanamba Chancho Badu Dani Kapsuchi Dagi Chushingi Betsana Drola Peche Sangendra Parasho Sanje Chodam Soti Chonamba Chancho Padu Dani Kyasuchi Dagi Chuji Gibetana Drola Beje Sanje Gora Kangi Turze Nizone Tawa Tamje Pambichara Tangi Chuni Tundu Kodum Tela Chanselo Good morning. some the Sumba. Okay.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Sumba rangi tikpa la nyangin chawa miri ki shenji kewa la thakdok miri pa nisa.
Yeah.
Nisa.
So we're going to go back to the text and pick up on the point that we left off yesterday from verse 81. So it began with the third point in arresting fury towards those who do well by one's enemy, which is the point of abandoning impatience with the accomplishment of material gain.
Jönne rangi dikchi la nyangin mewa masi yi sonum cheba shanda tang hinjing renpa chen de tang son shivale.
Kinantanda di sumba nipa jubala suba pama dirbe.
Re.
Kanda tsatsi loimbe?
Tsatsi. Jönne rangi dikchi la. Rangi dikwa la nyangin chewa reki shi. Kyo sajid kalo.
Sumba nipa jubala mizoba pama di.
Sumba.
Shokran?
Shokran nigengab chunga tu.
Okay. Sorry, I'm going to pick up from another point, verse 86. All right, so there's another third point. So we're still looking at abandoning impatience with the accomplishment of material gain. In reflecting on how there is nothing not to want in that, the third point says, while it is right to feel sorrow for one's own negativities, it is not right to be jealous of others' virtue, in verse 86. Now, turning to this verse, it says, not only do you not have any sorrow for having committed negativities, do you wish to compete with others who have created merit?
Chidang anzu dikpa di chena kharcha gore, gyawa chena kharcha gore se di chi manche kengero asa dikpa chewa no dikbi drebala tunga nyongo gore se ani diyang ani su dikpa chena ya dikpa chebo ko rangi ani dikbi legi drebu tunga nyongo gore ma do ani shenji ki nyongo ya da shengi dikpa chena di name rangi nyongo ya tinji chik zawani meza ta rangi dikba chibigi and jebo namen dunga di rangi nyongu gu yobayna ta dikba chiba tele ya and gyoba ki yoba chagora sura.
So we all know what happens from negative actions and what occurs out of virtuous actions. We know that from negative actions arise suffering. And whoever commits a negative action, that person themselves will experience the result of that negative action, ripening in a state of suffering. So it is not possible for oneself to commit a negative action and the suffering that the result of this negative action would be experienced by someone else. This is not possible. One experiences the result of negative actions that they have done. They ripen in the form of suffering.
Tiza tere tatsigang thambodi rangi dik chebalaya ani nyangin chimet mijing injimaina tadi medi lumbo chikre mato mumbi wangi song dewaji chegor mato ani kaso ta namju yengin ta ngoni ge ani ramden trip singin jimaina di chimares tiza anzu rangi dikba chebalaya gyoba chim machine di ani chapchung chagores susura ta mashi mumbi wangi and drugi yoba tini chagores.
So as the verse says, not only do you not have any sorrow for having committed negativities, not having any sorrow for having done negative actions is a foolish attitude. Someone that is foolish, someone that is deluded, someone that is confused will have no sorrow, no regret for having committed negative actions. Whereas a smart person, an intelligent person, will have regret for that. Not having regret for my negative actions is a foolish thing. Not only do you not have any sorrow for having committed negativities, do you wish to compete with others who have created merit? So if someone else is creating virtue, if someone else is accumulating merit, it is not suitable whatsoever to be jealous of that person. Jealousy in itself is a negative state of mind. So what profit do you get from this unsuitable state of mind, becoming jealous of someone that has created merit, that has created virtue? There's no profit in that whatsoever.
And some law and lojong du sutoni the lay your was lay your in the and give it just shwali subita mamu shochi the song your was consolate the shut sabiton so in the tanganzu di tolayachik and kazu to jiki and local shop to yagi bezin china ra rana pengi yore some of the pengi of the man as the name of seeking what on the rat tree mantra, then a mother, and then Mama the Susu Sani, Chambu Cheda, and Sanguch, the Rich Chelia, Bejan Chigoati, and the so good and so Tungdusra.
This is what we take up in our practice of lojong, mind training. When we train a mind to become a relaxed and a spacious state of mind. This is what we want to take up through our practice of mind training, a relaxed and spacious state of mind. So great masters of the past, such as Shantideva here in this text, are showing us the way to turn our mind towards those mind training practices that engender mental spaciousness and relaxation. So it is benefit to ourselves and it is also benefit to others. Going over those verses, you might find that maybe a couple of them are not all that clear, or maybe a word here or a line here or there might not be that clear, but still when you look at the underlying message of whatever Shantideva teaches here, is teaching us how to become a kind-hearted person, how to act in a way that is a kind-hearted person. And this is the purpose of a text like that. The underlying purpose is to use that in order to become a kind-hearted person.
Ani rata dizugi lojong dizugi shizat liya kargores laundi pigi chomden digi tanganzo dori chuk danyam se sonde thi thianchi chomden digi pigi ma sonsha chigu mayimba thyen nguma nganzo nedang liya ani danyam yimba di 모신 것도 그런 상황은 저주 ranshini까 비게 가서다 렌드릭 톤 깨지시온디 잔념이 버저스 디 통투와이나 아니 잔념 그 상도 땅투게디 용구여서레스 로
The foundation for practicing lojong, training of the mind, is recognizing the equality of the 6 realms of existence, the beings within 6 realms of existence, as taught by the Buddha, the Bhagavad. So it's not that we just cultivate a sense of equality between all living beings of the 6 realms of existence just because the Buddha, the Bhagavad, said that. When we look at the 6 realms of existence, we can see how we are equal. We are equal, for example, in the way that karma works. All of us are equal from the point of view of actions that we perform produce their own results.
아니 즉 셴라야 동아트에 되어다 아니 셴라 동안 존나 아니 즉 가오콤데야다 셴라야 기부 존나 아니 차도 사대야기 아니 총원징 상로디 야차야탐바 뇽조고레스 디카즈 뇽조 티츠그 소스셈리야 파크고 용야 아니 셈부 기부 용야 아니 즉 무슨라 지투바이나야 아니 케바 메바 피기기 지고따 투야 어딘지 지어봐는 들린다 인직 상호생이지 아니 잔주고 셈생이지 이게 다 시자디 들리질이야 땡도 왔어 우유니 추기 아니 리그비 남질이야 아니 때니 아니 인지다 잔주 셈세티 게레마도 지기래야 지 쇠잡지 미지기 랍잡지 부지 우유 제잡지 딤싸니 레면도 왔어.
We can see that and we can also think about it. So that's one perspective of thinking of how all of us are equal from the point of view of the working of karma. Another perspective of meditating or contemplating the equality of all of us is from the viewpoint of all of us seeking happiness and no living being wanting to suffer. And that being the case, if all of us are equal in terms of wanting to be happy and not wanting to suffer, if we act in a way that is detrimental to others just for myself to be happy, how is that fair? Or if someone that we dislike experiences suffering, it is not right to be happy. If someone that we dislike experiences happiness, it's not right to be jealous. If we do that, if we get our own happiness at the expense of others, if we become happy when others suffer, if we become jealous when others have happiness, our merit will decrease. So if we maintain a vast and spacious state of mind, when a mind is happy and joyous, when a mind is developing compassion and the mind of enlightenment, it is using the very foundation of equanimity in order to do so. So in order to generate those states of mind, we need to look, first of all, at the equality of all living beings from the perspective of the way that Geshe spoke. It's not that we just do that because someone else is telling us to do it, because someone else is forcing us to develop loving kindness or compassion or the mind of enlightenment. We do that on the basis of recognizing the equality of all living beings.
가시오다 대장도 디기마 전주기 아니 지금 송 쇼르같이 지금마 두스 아니 로원디기 시사조디 저샤조디 아니 인지의 전주sem 디 돈의 성장 탐지 그 상기 공부 아니 저야디 저샤라 샤치니 아니 저시에다 지속하시 줄을 없을 수가 아니 지 그래서 선거로 왔어라. 그 선거에서 쇼르가 레라야 아니 먼저 남기 사만 남들 손대어 난신 고소 취시세. 저자 고반 윤군 제와세 취시디. 아니 사만올이야 윤구여로. kinza di suji len to bana kaptu le sulen de song goba kare ani di joja kare kare che song yu goba an del ten de kar jo yu ba nigu an odinji tolya samstan to bana an si di kaptu le yas an sozole le yu ro chaksaros 마도 계란기 되고치는 교바치 고르스 라바나 찌땅 교sem디 로 마데비 샘로지로스 계란 로 마데와 치고르스 라바이나 아니 각종 아주 딘디 라바이나 디 가서 다치 나 프로포즈다 펜도 요교르진 통고만도 왔으라
So now when we look at these verses taken from Shantideva's Guide to Bodhisattva of Life, even as far as only one verse, the basis for training a mind, for practicing that is that attitude. Now, what we set out to accomplish on the basis of Shantideva's Guide, even as far as practicing one verse, the object of accomplishment is compassion and the mind of enlightenment, so that on that basis may we be able to attain the state of enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. So this is what we set to accomplish, right? We set to accomplish compassion, bodhicitta, and the state of enlightenment. What we do in order to accomplish that is practice the 6 perfections: generosity, ethics, and so forth. So we then need to think of how this presentation works. How do we understand this presentation? So we approach this topic. We assess the subject of this topic, the purpose of this text, the result that we will get to when we put it into practice. And this is an approach that is promoted by the Pramana Vartika in assessing different texts, right? So we look at the subject matter, the purpose, and the result that you get out of that. So when you assess that in that way, you see the need or the purpose in taking up certain practices. Otherwise, if you do not assess it from the point of view of the subject of the text, the purpose of the text, the result that these practices are leading to, if you just take up those practices just because someone told you to do so, like for example, if you purify negative actions and you're told that you need to feel regret for negative actions that you have done before, well, regret in itself is not a comfortable state of mind. It is not something that you will find really enchanting. Actually, to feel regret for negative actions is to find your state of mind in a place or in a state that is not comfortable, not at ease. And as such, it might be not that appealing, but also you might think that I don't get any benefit from a state of mind that is not really comfortable or it is. But then if you look at it from the perspective of what's the subject matter here? What's the purpose? What's the underlying purpose? What's the result of that this text is getting at? You'll see the value in taking up such practices, even if they don't seem to you from the very outset to be that appealing.
The difference is that you need to be good. Rank the watch Allah. Yang never masiki. Sonum cheva senda the engine danger. Muzova Tado Chindeva. Cheva music source.
Chesandila Jojo Gobatan Ningu Sanga. Ningu Tan Jevo de Chikpa
Jeva more than Jeva.
Sorry, I made a mistake. In the Pramana Vartika, those 3 points that Geshe mentioned are the subject matter, the purpose, and the connection or relationship between the different practices. So I spoke about the results, so rather instead of the result, change it to relationship. So if you understand the subject matter of the text, the purpose of the text, and then the connections between the different elements within the text, then you will be able to put it into practice in a better way. So then looking at Geta Dhammarincha's commentary to this section in verse 86, not only do you not mourn because for not receiving any gain, the negativities that you created earlier, you also compete with the merits previously created by others and are jealous because you cannot bear them. Is this not unsuitable?
Dadi sik chik dala chik, tangan sik triyo inza, sik dala ya kyon rangi dik chila sayag, sholo ka ye kyadu pati korang la jaba inas, rwa, josha di khari islam di kabla ya, ani rangi dikba che bala ya, ani gyoba che ko ya tang, shengi sonum sa bala ya, jansam che muru, che minye ba di josha res, rwa, shong di josha cha go res. Tā dī la tēne, ane chī dī chē murungwa, tēn tōkwa joras, tēn tōkwa dī goba res. Tā dī tēn tōkwa la tēne, tē nyamsu lēne, rāngi dīkpa tāya, shēng la ya, shēngi chē dō pēna, ane chī sāngi kumbha tōya lo soba, dī tham chē lo, ane dī nigu chā go res. Dī ngama chima la, drewa dī, ane So
in mentioning those 3 points taken from the Pramana Vartika, we have the subject matter, the purpose, and the relationships. Now the relationship sometimes is called the relationship or the link. Sometimes it is also called the underlying purpose. So how do we apply it, for example, to verse 86? Let's put it on the screen again. It says, not only do you not have any sorrow for having committed negativities, do you wish to compete with others who have created merit? So what is the subject matter of this verse? The subject matter is the need to feel regret for negative actions that we have done before. And also the unsuitability of feeling jealous for virtuous actions that were done by others. This is the subject matter of this verse. What is the purpose of this verse? It is to realize just that, to realize the meaning of not feeling, to realize the meaning of feeling regret for negative actions that you have done before and not being jealous of the merit or the virtue of others. This is what we want to realize. Now, in terms of the third point, the underlying purpose or the relationship, the underlying purpose, the relationship is to use that in order to purify negative actions so that the state of enlightenment will be attained for the sake of others.
Kevin Cardo, or the beach, sound down to Wana, any the pay could do which has raw.
So if you take this 3-point presentation from the Pramana Vartika and you apply it to each one of the verses that we cover, you can ask yourself the same questions. What is the subject matter of this verse? What does it say? What is the purpose of this verse? What benefit do I get from putting it into practice?
Now, that Pembuni was the Pembo said, and Sikamam Chiche, the Sumban Devi cake chabala, Choa Gabala is Devi cake the switches that conducting was the Gabala ni, Dala never joined cake chabala, Muzepa, Miribatang. Randa rangi chola pembi cake chabala, Muzeba Miribo. Tambo Dala never joined cake chabala, Muzeba Miripana Suns, Dala Mugabe, Rana Mepembatans, Dala Lesson Kibi, Dala Menepa, Dela Menebatans, Rana Nebo. Tambo Dala Mugabe, the Rana Mepembanis, Kate Dala never chona, Gashin tea cake chabala. True Shenas.
let's move on to the next section in the text. Now, when we look at the outline for this chapter, the next point is arresting fury towards that which hinders one's desire. That follows up from verse 52. So, actually, when it says that it follows up from verse 52, I think that it doesn't follow up from verse 52. So we spoke about the way in which anger arises. It arises because of mental happiness, mental unhappiness that arises when you get what you don't want, or you don't get what you want. So in not getting what you want, from verse 87, we start to look at arresting fury towards that which hinders one's desire. What happens when you don't get what you want? So there are two main sections to this. The first one is it is unreasonable to be impatient with that which hinders the harm destined for one's enemy. And the second is it is unreasonable to be impatient with that which hinders the benefit directed towards oneself and one's interest. Now, looking at the first section, point A, there are three main points. Disliking enemies is of no benefit to oneself. Enemies are not harmed by your developing ill will, and that it harms yourself if you have ill will towards an enemy.
Kati dashi magana tela chunga chishiyus. Zawati njot losu kati dashi magashi medela tela chunga chishiyu chola pemba mechi pemba meba mase kelana nuguris.
So we begin with the first point, which is disliking enemies is of no benefit to oneself. There are two lines that this section covers. Before we look at the actual verses, let's turn to Geshe Rinpoche's commentary, and it begins with an argument. I'm happy when the enemy receives harm, and I get angry at what obstructs this harm. To that, Shantideva says, even though the enemy does not like it, what is there for you to like? In explaining those two lines, it says, even though one's enemy generates dislike and is unhappy, what is there for you to be happy about? It does not benefit you, but harms you.
Tirdadin doto tu dodi keran magasagi jatelaya chik pendo chungi chona delaya shiuchiki and magiva chede di pendo chigyo mares. Ketsi kerana magasagi jatelaya chik dukja chonan sambigi and kolon chikin de and nimachilaya tinji jatelaya chik tamanti was chowan, Susu Magasada, tamanti was chowan, and delaya shiuchiki. Any chick yin rimbato chick, any gawagom devaina, tea pasho mala, no mares, and kirana pento yomares, pento maybe can kirana never chimbujingures or dilla disungores ra.
So what is this section saying? Well, if you feel happy when a certain misfortune befalls on someone that you dislike, here we call that person is an enemy of someone that you dislike. So it might be that you have had for some time the wish for that person to experience something bad, thinking when something bad befalls upon that person. Then comes a time in which something bad indeed happens to the person and you feel satisfied for that. You feel happy that it came to pass. Shantideva is saying that how does it help you? Not only it doesn't help you, that way of thinking is harmful to oneself.
Jeda, then never chimbu yodi, can never chimbu chayadi, the carriers, Laura, the Ginzen carriers, 먼저 뇌다 펜세기 펜누기 제부디 귤을 뜨고라스 라 귤을 뜨고자 뇌비기 수술에 뇌바 용약이 유조디 아니 유 딕발이야 라리버스 레마기올이야 라리버스 근데 단지 계란이 상도 땅데 디기 피길이야 지 독자 존나삼비 꼴롱지케 아니 데네프기야 자만디고 종자베질 계란 가와공에 디기 토니 계란기 정운 죽숨 찬상 상인기 디비레드 사도고레스 이제 될 템비기 아니 나면 디바 침부 용고 동가 침부 용주키고레스라
It is very harmful to oneself if you become happy when something negative happens to another person. It is greatly harmful to oneself because you need to then, first of all, think of what is the cause for experiencing either harm or benefit. Harm or benefit, both of them depend upon causes. So when someone is experiencing harm, when they experience suffering, it arises it depends upon a certain cause. It arises from non-virtue. So you're rejoicing or you're happy about suffering that arises from its cause, non-virtue. And as such, when you become happy about it, for you it becomes a negative action that is a complete negative action in the sense that the preceding part, the actual part, and the concluding part of that negative action are present in full, and therefore it becomes a very negative action.
어디서다 결 펜바 메바 마세 누구리 소야 긴젠디 딘디 상담은 야지야 담바 아니 라면 네버지마도 펜도무가 스라 this 나
딜라 토바치도
yeah
토바데 안디 카산디 조넨 레도
alright
나딜라 sorry
Question that somebody's.
yeah
You stood on there.
딜라 탄데디 라
저한테
세잔데 텐사 아리라 데 우시 로그르와 데 페셰데 넘버 주체 만차데 참볼라 가와요 말와
장불로 가오요 만
아
남치칭
만차데 참블라 가게 말와
참라
세잔 쿠란 쇼그레 야와용게 마레스는 사노치 자와치 가게로와 아니 코쇼와이나 미 페셰 디왈라 미 만차데 가게로와 세잔데 Jawa Dungela Jesu Rama then the Sigurbe penalty Michik Dukja Chichewaina. Also Landoma Joina. And being not so also Landoma Joina, Dukja di Landoma Joina, not so go was Chesan Topat so did it.
나 참라 마가 키메다세 장문을 제발나
So the question is, I'm just going to read it also for the audio recording. Would a current example of this be a wishing for Trump to lose the presidential election? So I told Geshe that at least for most of the Dhamma people or Dhamma students that I know, most of them are wishing for Trump to lose the election. So if you wish for him to lose the election, if you're happy when he loses the election, is that an example of rejoicing in the bad result of another person? Well, Geshe said that to begin with, he doesn't have a sense of dislike to Trump, which is quite common to Tibetans. Geshe says that it doesn't have to do with being Tibetan or not.
가시 가면 가시 가오치도 아니 가시 가마가지 가이메교로치 딘디 연구도
Amongst Geshe's relatives, there are some that like Trump, some who dislike Trump, some that are just equanimous with respect to him. They don't have any particular view.
당한서 좀 이기정데라 마도 지나 고 셔나 지 가샤에다 고 톱나야 직샘나 슈가자 참부 tranje시아바나 개문도스 라 그런 첼시 돈이 조기어에 간지 그런 롱바 아리 롱바 뒤에 지 취미용인기 롱베 나는 롱바 치슈 그러왔어 미치니 지기 지 쉬우지 제자서 개매왔어 그러 디지디 텔레야 가득 쉬슈 제거해서 개문도 쓰라 장우선
I guess I said that honestly, he doesn't let that affect his mind to a great degree. If he wins or if he loses, Geshe says he doesn't feel that he has to react in a particular way. No, he's running for elections in the US. It's not a country that is based on just one person deciding what the rules are. No, it is a country that enjoys a great legacy, or historical legacy of having a system of rules and laws and so forth. So Geshe said that at least from him personally, he doesn't feel that he has to react to that in a great sense of joy or great sense of horror if Trump wins or loses.
진짜 나좀 상로야 상로야 견직당 연den기 차직의 견기 차직 이명이 제매왔어. 라 딘자 견기 총다나 각말에 연den기 총다나 가그레스. 디 소수 상로. 라 소수 라마 기위신이 진바이나야. 소수 유무도송 최대한자 견 차네 통합의 마음이 거라서 이내야 소수응원 이래 배준 지진 아니 연den기 따야야 공바이나 디 돈이 캡산지 윤거라서 라
We all have faults and good qualities. It's not that we have amongst us those that have only one side, either faults or good qualities. We all have a mixture of faults and good qualities. So then in terms of, for example, the attitude that you take with respect to your spiritual teacher, when you rely upon a spiritual teacher, inevitably faults in the spiritual teacher will appear to your mind. And sometimes even many faults appear to your mind when you rely upon a spiritual teacher. But the advice that is given is that once you rely upon that person, don't focus mainly on the faults, but try to attend your mind mainly to the good qualities. If you habituate your mind with focusing on the good qualities, at the end it will be beneficial for you.
데리 데자타 간주 섬자 탐지에서 시에데 가려야 딘지 야금 총의 카드이 마네 상당사치 고고다스라 가즈나 총 미치기 이내야 크게야 얼렁이 콜레야 잡결칭이 콜레야 강이 메자타 카시다 동타 카시 딘지 마르와스 사야만 보여라스 디주 샘감디 먼저 디주 샘감 송고야디 제타 남바지 미차네 먼저 겐도스라.
So then when we approach issues such as Trump, Geshe says that rather than thinking about it just from our own perspective, we need to think about it from the perspective of sentient beings by and large. Like, for example, in terms of thinking of winning or losing, it's not just about Trump. You have, for example, those that like Trump, that support Trump. And it's not that there are just a few hundreds of them or a few thousands of them. There are millions of people that like him, that support him. And from the point of view of training, from the point of view of a Buddhist training, we're supposed to be caring for them as well. We're supposed to also be wishing for the benefit of those people.
디레샤다 니바 달라 느슴 깨비 델라 문네바니스 휴지 유미 짱기니 유미니 기능 가라
Kyugi Yumun.
이미
Dila Peshi Yimun than the Lord. The word door and the Jawala door and the Yimun than the Chish.
야 휴지 유미 짱기니 델라 리비 유미규
Then the next point is enemies are not harmed by your developing ill will, in the last two lines of verse 87. So looking at verse 87, it says, your mind merely wishing did not cause him to be harmed.
There that never chong yambi kyoji yun something. That tell it maybe human giving. Kyojin the chong se kyang munji trolley resource.
Reading through the commentary, it says, just your mental wish alone that thinks, may the enemy receive harm, does not cause harm to the enemy. Therefore, since your purpose is not achieved in the slightest, abandon anger.
That drala never drala nigmaris. Can I immediately was drala kind nigmaris? Drala minipi masi canania most news lalchoras. There are pig drala magawa, trado, dan conro, the tinjil leondi, and same true drug does on the same true drug and Samia Shidiligo money, Sam Magiva Chagore. Most social news that didn't reach some tanchini and Dala Magavi, Lodi, Dogoyadi, Muyunus Chadevich, Dirantragus.
Your wish for harm to befall upon someone that you dislike, an enemy, not only that wish does not harm them, also it says here that it is harmful to you. It is harmful to you because when you have that ill will directed at another person, your mind is made unhappy. There's a certain mental disturbance that arises when you wish ill to another person. It doesn't harm them, but it is harmful to you.
And then you do that. Sumba round never the knees. The Shanam never must round the grace. Round the never the knee. Jalan never chon la gawa miripatans. Tela gawa sona rani la dumachi gyugyuo.
Not only it doesn't harm them, it is harmful to oneself. That point is divided into two sections. It is unreasonable to enjoy the harm that befalls your enemy. And if one holds on to that joy, it will become a cause of great suffering for oneself.
Tambo dalan never John la gawa miripanis. Church Davis, Dongardi, Rakarang Debi, Dala John, Dongardi, Dala Teda, the Tuna, Charang Gawa Chishiyores, Tumna, Chunga Chishiyos.
So when we go through the first point, it is unreasonable to enjoy the harm that befalls your enemy. It says in the root verse, even if his suffering, which means the enemy's suffering, is established due to your wish, what is there for you to be joyous about, to be joyful about?
Damaro Chuji Nyambi, Chuji Devi Parupola, Dungar Tumna, Chu Da Chu Gawa Chishi, Chu Dada, Chu Gawa Chishi, Pemba Chunsegia, maybe Cheros. Can I pentochi or maris? Gagoya Cardo straw.
Even if the wish made the enemy receive something unsuitable were fulfilled, and the other person would receive suffering, what would that be for you to be happy about? It does not benefit you in the slightest.
Niba Della Gausona Rani Dungachi Gukubanis, Jalama, Jala, and Dunganchuma tea, Junzen Suzu Gawa Combino, Sozola Dungachi Junguris, that and she was doing it. Given this, Kade somebody Gusena, Telepon Shenju, Numunia Vitava, Children necessity. There's on semi Pombaya, never saw me. That's it, yes.
The next point says that if one holds on to that joy, it will become a cause of great suffering for yourself, for oneself. So if you become happy about harm that befalls upon your enemy, if that makes you happy, not only, it doesn't really help you, but also being happy about harm that someone else experiences is a cause that will produce great suffering for you in the future. So to that, Shantideva says, first of all, in stating an opinion, I shall be satisfied. The response is, how could there be anything more ravaging than that? Having been held this unbearable and sharp hook cast by the fishermen of the afflictions, it is certain that I should be cooked in the pots of sentient beings held by the hell guardians. It begins with the argument saying, if I'm looking at the commentary now in page 35, if the enemy receives harm, I will receive satisfaction because my wish will have been fulfilled. To answer that, Gyatso Rinchen says, what other method is there for destruction apart from generating strong harmful intent, since one will go to the lower realms?
Penna nyaban namji chagyu nyasong te sepatar nyumu ba shedang gi nyabe taba ye nesum chabu tigwi leji chiwan chagyun dene bisechi sirvi ngebar samba teni songni ti songni simjen nyawe pumba yang ti sinsu nyawe songmi chuni da simbar ngebi cheros.
Continuing with the reading of the commentary, it says, for example, as the fisherman cooks the fish upon catching them with his hook, similarly, having been caught by the terrifying hook of the negative karma of strong harmful intent that was cast by the fisherman of the affliction of anger, one will definitely be cooked by the hell guardians in the cauldrons of sentient beings hell. Sorry? If you understand the analogy and the meaning, then you got it right.
Chagyu nyasong chi dina tsusavi jelata chik tarseyabi misi wajirwas. Ta metari kaanla ya tini mashukong ngoyala soko, tubiyala soko, dini ngoras. Dinan shingi nganzu nyabadan jabi nyumumbi ki chagyu song chini nyawi pumbi nandu tsusavi na tini nyankamba tusugu karcheje mato 아니 소소래 라마 찌에메바 동안 바시기 나는 내고에 차그레스 이제 딘지기 마가비기 아니 삼바디 아니 냐바드 나신기 저런 생긴 냐위 소모의 중에도 차고래스라.
Looking at this verse again, it says, having held by the unbearable and sharp hook cast by the fishermen of the afflictions, it is certain that I should be cooked in the pots of sentient beings held by the hell guardian. So the fishermen here in the analogy is the afflictions. The afflictions cast a hook. They catch their fish or they catch their prey. They cook them, they cut them, they boil them, they fry them, and so forth. Similarly, the fishermen that will cast us to the pots of hellish state of existence is our own afflictions. Our own afflictions throw away those hooks. They hook us and then send us to be tormented by hellish state of existence, by the hell guardians and so forth.
Museba Miribala Nis. Jigden be Chuji Kechabala, Tro Miribada, Sonam Kechabala, Tro Miribo, 담보 직대비 취지 개체벌로 초미리 벌니 랑라 때보다 답이 개체벌로 초미리 받았어 팬도 sambo 당보 랑 때보다 답이 개체벌로 초미리 벌시 때보다 잡아 점라 그범에 받았어 이 가왔점 되든 미리과 대점 되든 점바 신주로 임바다 신주로 임 빈센로
We began with the first section in arresting fury towards that which hinders one's desires. So we began with that. We've covered the first section that says it is unreasonable to be impatient with that which hinders the harm destined for one's enemies. Let's look at the next point, which is much more elaborated, and it says it is unreasonable to be impatient with that which hinders the benefit directed towards oneself and one's interests. Now, there are two main points in that section. It is unreasonable to be furious with that which hinders one's own praise and renown, and reflecting on the benefits. Now, sorry, that's not the two main points. Sorry. Sorry, the first point is it is unreasonable to be furious with that which hinders mundane interests. And then second is it is reasonable to be furious with that which hinders merit. Now, beginning with it is unreasonable to be furious with that which hinders mundane interest, again, two main points. As it is unreasonable to be furious with that which hinders one's praise and renown, it is unreasonable to be furious with that which hinders one's praise and renown, and reflecting on benefits. Looking at the first point, again, 4 points, there is no need for just praise and renown. It is reasonable to seek merely mental joy. Grasping for merely that is erroneous, and the reason why it is erroneous.
There is the Tambu Tebata Tapatsam Gobamivanis, Teratani Yobotsamki, Pendant Room Nebatang, any Minta Yoyaki, any that Tapata in the Kanjiku Yabure Sagi, Minta Yoya Soba, Tinji, and one is Suzulia, Pendus Kiomas, the Bosnian secure neverness. Rangi Tebata Tabi Kitchen Mugosinas, the Tabi Run Sonum Mingur, Ser Mingur, Dagdon Mingur, Nememin, Ludeva Minguro, Dan Randin Shikino, Tella Randin Chishigus.
So we begin with the first point that says that there is no point in praise and renown, mere praise and renown. Let's look at again just at the outline. There is no need for just praise and renown. So if someone is praising you, it doesn't give you that much benefit. If you have renown in the sense that you enjoy good reputation, someone is saying good things about you, in that sense they're inflating your reputation, it doesn't really benefit you. So looking at verses 90 and 91 that comes out in this heading, it begins with putting forward a certain argument. I do not like it when praise or reputation is obstructed.
Redan Chujun Jidan Yoros, Pena, Ani Karanlaya, Deni, Gagoyasi, Kiomari, Kansan Karala, Medatangi, and Yoris, and Karanlaya, Medatani, Lopongo Yomari, Karan Dedatangi Yoris, Jidiko, Gadu Kai Gigoes, Kutani, the Shazan, Gigoris.
Sorry, I should have also read those verses. So it says, the honor of praise and fame will turn into neither merit nor life. It will turn into neither strength nor freedom from sickness foaming, and also will not transform into physical happiness. If I were to understand my welfare, what is there in them that is my welfare? So looking at what Shantideva says here in the Guide to Bodhisattva Way of Life, it says that there's no purpose in praise or in renown. If someone is praising you, it's likely also to be someone that belittles you or slanders you. If someone, if you have renown, in the sense that if someone is saying good things about you, there's also likely to be someone who's saying negative stuff about you.
제 다치단게 제단게 당한주 게시하는 미스윙 바이네 그냥 약불이라나 가가가로스라 가고 이거 말세도 하나 가르스 가이도스 가이도 가고 이거 말세 가르스 가니 필이야지 나길기야라 소바다 아니 직 촉직도 뱅 농로에 딘디저스 딘디치고 말스 양스 마가니 셈심로야라 소바다 마가니 아니 직 텔라야 늘린치데야 소 딘디치고야기 내단 차기요 말스 소딘서스라 아다만 소스키올야 직 땡이 주나 가르 메나 상가 마가와지다 용구도 아스라 디 람산 까야다 가고 싶으시라 아스라
But then in practicality, when we look at ourselves, we do like it when someone is saying good things about us, when they praise us. And here it doesn't say at all that one should never be happy about praise or renown. It's not that we ought to not respond at all or not kind of feel happy if someone is saying good things about us. We know that we react to that in a certain way. We like people to think well of us, but we need to consider that it comes with a danger of becoming proud and also then becoming partial. So if you develop that strong reaction, you really like being praised and so forth, your mind then could become partial. So there's a danger in that. But also looking at the other side, if someone criticizes you, if they blame you for something, if they slander you, if your reputation is diminished, it might be that you react to that with a mind that is defeated, a mind that is deflated. And also there is a danger that you would wish to retaliate. There's no purpose in that.
제 간스나 당한주기 되고요. 변나 수술라마 기위신이 바이나야 되버 피고요로스. 안 산지 좀 된들이야. 아니 되지 피고요로스. 란 장관놈 중가 왔침비 간시 식신 손바이 캔다 템바 라나메스 켈레코나 템바신 자우니 문투스 계속 되바. 딘지 되버 평 갈이야. 산지 통이가 야치자다. 통이면은 그것이라 비교를 통이거라서 이제는 아주 소수기와 있는 때는 가고레스 이내 가와 뒤에 괜찮네 아니 날길기야다 아니 셰일이야 통종체로 서버 로 딘지 리트다 진행 말이스 디레셔서
We ourselves also praise others. Like, for example, we praise a Lama, the spiritual friend. We praise the Buddha, the Bhagavan. Right? We use phrases to the Buddha, the Bhagavan, to the spiritual teacher. Like, for example, Lama Tsongkhapa in praise of Dependent Rising has praised the Buddha Shakyamuni, who is an unparalleled teacher that gave teachings haven't seen reality. And those teachings are found nowhere else. So such praises are made, and also when such praises are being offered, the recipient of those verses, the Lama, the spiritual friend, and the Buddha, are pleased with that. So then the point here is that if you receive praise, and then this praise acts as a condition for developing pride, you become full of yourself and so forth, that's pointless.
And then I'm most ever down, go to Tabi, giving the Jabangale, Sonums Mingirsi. Say I'm Mingula, Datu give it and your Mila. 류 대와의 민규로 대회나 다음에 랑이 되는 유 민규 저 시벌 그나 때라 때라 랑이 그 지시 예 종세장 메도스
So the answer to this argument says, out of the 5 benefits that are explained for sentient beings, which does the tribute of direct praise and indirect reputation accomplish? It does not become merit and it does not become life. It also does not become the cause for increasing one's strength and does not provide physical happiness. Therefore, if one analyzes and understands the benefit for oneself, what benefit for self lies with praise and reputation? Not the least.
네 집주는 하나 시작인데
That's all.
아니 민구 칼라산 송신이 들어 인즈데여라
So we will leave it here for now, slightly earlier today, keeping in mind that we have teaching, Isonis' teaching at 1:30 Eastern time. And after that, we have another tute, and in the evening, we have another teaching session. So we're just going to space out this day. So we'll just leave it here for now.
Lama Sangye Jugule Dowa Chikyama Pare Sabla Dowa Sho Rinpoche Madhye Pan Kiruchi Dewa Nyapa Vepayo Ole Kondo Dawa Sho Kore Shinkante Pendan Dewa Vale Joe Chepe Siwan Tenzin Yatsoi Shape Senje Badu Tendu Chashi Jangu Yahweh Tenzin Yope Kum Soto Poise Chosun Ko Wele Montu Ada Sotu Shin Kondu Shabde Sho. Thank you.
Monday, Zonga, Puja, for our Geshes. So we're thinking maybe some people want to come and have picnic lunch, maybe just like 12 o'clock, November. Okay, it's not a live stream.
가사에 찍어라. 지금
So maybe some people would like to join us for lunch or have some lunch together. Okay. Okay. So what's the deal?